Today I'm going to do something vaguely Valentine's-y that you might want to try. It doesn't have to be a Valentine's thing, but it's got a kind of hearty sort of theme going on with it. Hi everyone and welcome. I'm Diane and my passion is painting and creating nature-inspired watercolours in my studio, which are easy for you to do too. I share all my paintings with you on YouTube, and on our website dianeantone.com you can find free downloadable sketches for all the videos to help you make the most of your painting journey. And if you'd like a little bit more, we also have channel memberships with loads of perks for you to enjoy. So welcome on board, click subscribe and turn on notifications, and let's learn to paint watercolour. I'm going to be using my Kuretake set of paints here. These are watercolours. They call them Gansai Tambi. I don't know what that means, but what it means to me is that they are somewhere halfway between watercolour and gouache, which means that they are quite opaque sometimes if you don't water them down very much, which means that you can paint over the top of things quite successfully, which is really nice, especially if you're doing something like a greetings card and you want to sort of work it up a little bit, as if you were using acrylic actually, only it doesn't have the plasticky feel to it that acrylic has. I'm also going to use some white gouache as well, probably on it as we get towards the end. This one is something I haven't used much, although you wouldn't believe it, would you, when you look at the state of the jar. I got this from Amazon. It's designer's gouache. It's by Talons. I think they're Dutch. Or you could use Dr. P.H. Martin's The Usual, or any other white gouache. There's a white here on this set, but it's not opaque enough, so that's no good really. I'm using a cat's tongue brush here from Zen Art, faux squirrel, in other words nylon. Quite a nice shape for doing a background, which is what we're going to do now. I'm going to be painting on a sheet of etcher, getting towards the end of this etcher. If you're listening, you want to send me some more paper, getting towards the end of this. Watercolour block, this is, which means that it's glued all the way around. For those of you who don't yet know this, it's glued all the way around with the exception of one little area here where you can pull it apart and slice off the sheet using a paper knife, which I can't lay my hands on at the moment. It always disappears, that thing. I don't know why, but anyway, you can just run a knife around the outside of that and it separates nicely. That keeps it nice and flat, so when you're doing wet in wet, you don't get a bending and a cockling and a bubbling, and you don't have to put your work under a book for a month and let it go mouldy while you forget all about it, and so on and so forth. So yes, right, let's start. I'm going to do a fairly neutral with a sort of slightly pinkish kind of background thing, a little bit like the one we did the other day. I don't know if you saw the one that looked like a landscape, because it started off with blue at the top, I think, did it? And anyway, we're just going to do something similar to that. I'm just going to drop in some colours and let them all blend. But now, this time I'm using something pastel-y, a little bit less dramatic. I'm going to use plenty of water and drop the water in. Oh, if you've got one of these, by the way, this is quite good. This is just a little pipette. I think we might have been given it. Oh no, I know what it was. It came with some oils, and the idea was to use it to put droplets of oil into a little container. But you can drip water onto your painting like this, and you get a nice flow. I think painting's all about exploration, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you set out to do. Chances are it'll be different. Main thing is to just, I don't know, whatever comes to hand, pick it up and have a go, see what happens. And if you don't like it, spread it out a bit more. So this isn't anything. This is just a background, okay? And just a background. It does look a bit like a landscape, doesn't it? Because I've started off with blue at the top, but then we've kind of gone pink further down. So I'm going to add some more blue just to balance it out. Okay, so that's layer 1 of our background. If when that's dry it's too pale, I will go over it again. I'm going to go and have lunch now and let this dry. I can drop some more water drops in here to give us some back runs, because why not? And the idea is, what I'm planning to do is to have some hearts, a couple of hearts in the middle, and some flowers growing up around it. So you never know what might happen while I'm having lunch. We might have some backgrounds appear that look like hearts. You never know your luck, do you? And I think I've got a bit too much water hanging off the top here, so I'm just going to lift that out. There is a lot of benefit to using a block, but of course they are very, very much more expensive than sheets of paper, much more expensive. So if cost is an issue, then you probably won't want to buy blocks all the time. You might want to think about stretching your paper. We have got a video that I did probably about 2 years ago now on stretching paper the easy way. It's not difficult if you do it right. A bit like driving a car, really, you know, once you know how, all things being equal, you should be okay on the road. And it's the same with stretching paper. Once you know how to do it, you can do even a big sheet, like a half sheet, half imperial, which is much bigger than this. And yeah, so I'm just going to let that dry, and I'll be back in 2 shakes of lamb's tail. Okay, so this is now dry. This is my background that I did a few minutes ago, and so that's now nice and dry. And I'm now going to select, with reference to that, I'm going to select some colours that I'm going to paint on top of that with. And in order to restrict myself a little bit, because, you know, it's very easy to get carried away, isn't it, when you're painting with too many colours. So I'm just going to put them in this palette. I'm going to take them out of this box and put them over here. And I hope that that's going to work for me. So I'm going to have the pink, and then turquoise, pale blue, and pale ultramarine, and then, and did I say pink already? And then we need the darker sort of, what do you call them, analogues of that. So we will want a dark green, something like that. So turquoise green deep, something like that. And then a dark blue, so let's say Prussian blue, and then a dark red. So let's say this, I don't know why they call that purple. Oh, can't see why that's purple. And then we want black. And I may or may not dip into this selection for a few other colours as we go along. But for the time being, I'm going to start off with these. And I've done a couple of sort of tryouts of different things. And I did this one today, which 2 hearts in the middle and then surrounded by flowers and leaves, which is one idea. And then I tried this idea. Actually, I did this one first, dividing a sheet of paper into squares and then putting a heart in each one. You could write a message in there if you wanted to, couldn't you? Like, you know, let's do something really wildly original, like love and peace, that kind of thing. You could do that. You could do that on all of them, couldn't you? You could put hope and joy. That's quite a nice idea, I think. But that's not what I'm going to do now. This one also was another tryout. This is the first one where I was just literally playing with pink. And I mean, yeah, too much pink really. So That's no good. Need a quick slurp of tea, sorry, excuse me a sec. So what I decided to do in the end was, I saw this idea somewhere, and nothing is unique to anyone. If you look hard enough, you can find what you thought was your unique idea somewhere, 1,000 times probably, so it's probably best to admit that it wasn't all you. Hearts. So I'm going to take a pencil and I'm just going to, it looks like clouds, doesn't it, a little bit? So I'm just going to draw some hearts on here, all sorts of different shapes, some short, fat, and some long and thin, just hearts. And that's quite a nice thing to do, isn't it? Just drawing hearts. It's a very satisfactory sort of shape, isn't it? So we'll do that first, and then I thought it was quite a nice idea. Somebody did this to have them sort of dangling down from the sky. They're all coming down to say hi. So we may or may not do that. Depends what it looks like once I've kind of painted them in a bit. So I'm going to sit down now and find myself a brush. Let's have something like this, size 7 round. And I'm going to embellish them when they're done. So you can put the paint on quite thickly. And it's nice when it's painted over. And I have found that this paint does quite a nice thing. If you just put it on fairly thickly and then pick up some water and just drag it in with the water, then you get sort of, what do you call it? A kind of, almost like a bleed. You can add more on one side, make it stronger. And you can put in some blue if you want and make it rougher. The thing is, this is, as I always say, the thing what you have to do is to kind of relax. And oh, that's black. Yes, I have an idea about what to do with black, but I didn't want black at the moment. I wanted some blue. Isn't it funny how the weather affects us? I find that when it's windy, I'm not very good at concentrating. So it's best to do something that doesn't require too much attention to detail, I think. This would be quite a reasonable way to spend an afternoon. You've got nothing better to do. This is a kind of painting where you can seriously say, with no fear of contradiction, that there is no rules. Just do whatever comes to mind. So I've just picked up some black there, and I'm just going around the outside edge of that. And you might say, oh no. But we will see. You can change the shape if you don't like what you've done. I can hear a dog barking. I don't want this to be too pastel. That's the one thing I've noticed when you're using these Kuretake paints. There is a tendency to go too pastel, and I'm trying to resist that. But the good thing is when you go over it to embellish it, you can change whatever it is that you've done. Make it lighter or darker, I mean, with your pen work. And when you're doing this, you're practicing, aren't you? I don't like that. That's gone all sludgy and yuck. So I'm going to blot that out and get a much nicer effect, I think. And we can go around the edges later. I'll leave that like that. You can mix some red with some blue and make a nice purple. When you're a beginner, you need to practice brush strokes, don't you? So you want to paint something where it doesn't really matter what it looks like. You're just practicing brush strokes. So some phthalo blue with the green there to get a much darker green, which I don't know, is that green or blue? Beware of these pastel shades. Beware. It's another dark green. You're leaning towards the green here. Whoops. Going to have to cover that one over. Put a little purple heart up here. Cover that splosh. There we are. Make some nice dark ones, because when you go back in with your gold or your silver or whatever you're going to do for the embellishments, a nice dark background is what you want, really. Okay, and maybe one more red one down here. And black, maybe Okay, now I need to dry that. Okay, so here I have got a pen. This is called a Kuretake Tombow Fudenasuke black brush pen. So lecture over. So now what I'm going to do with that, first thing I'm going to do with this is try not to put my hand on any wet paint. Hopefully that's dry. I'm going to go round these with a thick and thin stroke, as if I was doing calligraphy. And you might say, why? I don't know. Why not? Hello, cat. And then we can use that to do the upward stroke as well in a minute. La-di-da. Need to think of something to say. What should I talk about? It's quite nice. Press down hard, you get a thicker line. Even if it's slightly damp paper, so it gets a broken line, doesn't matter. If you go a bit slower, I think then it's probably, yeah, not quite so broken. So slow down a bit like that. And I'm going to put the upward strokes in later. And I haven't finished yet. Don't panic. Don't panic, Mr. Herring. So I'm going around again with a second off, outside the lines. Oh, I forgot that one. It takes quite a bit of courage to do painting, you know. And when people say, oh, I'm in a slump or I'm in a funk, I can't think what to paint, I don't know what to do, I don't want to do anything because it might not. Oh, yeah, now we hit on it. I don't want to start anything because it might not work. If you have something that you consider to be a failure, which happens to us all the time, happens to me all the time, I just showed you 3 of them. If that happens, then it's very much harder to get started again. If you have an emotional event surrounding your art, sometimes that can really block you badly. So don't be cross with yourself, it's basically. Let me see. Just give yourself something easy to do, like this. For goodness sake, don't try and paint like Van Gogh or Roland Hilder or anyone. Don't try and paint like anyone. Put on your big girl panties, as we used to say in England occasionally on a bad day, and paint like you. Okay. Might not like what turns out because, yeah. But, okay, white now. White. What should we do with the white? Lots of possibilities. Where it's very dark, that's nice because you can come in and you can do something which is going to contrast nicely. Some white circles or something like that, white dots. You might come on the inside and do that. We could have another. These white pens are very good, but you have to go really slow, and ideally, your paper is dry. That's to say, the paint. Hairdryer to the rescue. That's better. Not perfect, but better. Well, we could also use some silver, I suppose. I wonder what this would look like. I noticed that the silver pen is more obedient than the white one. I don't know why that would be. Okay, so then you can get a smaller brush, and put some darker purple in the middle there, for example. And then you can come around here with some darker dots. While we've got this colour in our mitt, we can do a nice big heart in the middle of this one, for example. Why not? And let that dry. And while you're doing that, you can think to yourself, oh, I think I'm going to try and paint one with a brush rather than this pen. Oops. Quite nice to do it a bit rough like that. Or maybe we'll do a scrunchy heart in the middle. And we can put some white-ish in one corner, like that, for example, which lightens it up a bit. Don't forget, if you've gone too dark, make it wet and lift it. You never know what you're going to get. That's good. I think I was talking the other day about not having very much, what do you call it, visualization ability. So not being very good at imagining what things are going to look like or remembering what things did look like. Apparently some people can recall every detail of a trip to the beach, for example. We can remember how it looked when the children were playing on the sand and all that. And I just have a vague idea of the fact I was there. And most of the time I forget completely that I ever was. I would be a terrible witness in a murder. You know, I would never be able to describe a person. Yeah, he had 2 arms, 2 legs and a head. That's about as good as I could get. Hopeless, absolutely hopeless. A phantasmic. That's me. But anyway, so doing something like this, I think I remember I said that I'd been working hard at trying to train myself, improve my ability to imagine what something was going to look like. And I think doing this kind of work helps, because I've noticed that since I've had the channel and I've been doing a lot more painting and doing a lot more trying out of ideas and so on and so forth, I think I'm a little bit better. I think I have a rough idea what a ball of light looks like now. I think I can just about bring one to my mind. And I think this is why, because you're trying things out. I haven't got the faintest idea what it's going to look like if I put white here. So I go ahead and do it and then see what happens. Put it on the inside and on the outside. You know, and sometimes what you get is, first of all, unexpected, and secondly, you're quite pleased with it. You say, oh, yeah, that's all right. Not always. But that does work quite well, doesn't it? The outside and inside. I think that's interesting. I don't know whether to fill in the colour, fill in these ones that are blank or not, empty. Perhaps I will, I don't know. Okay, I'm going to try a bit more with the white paint. Let's do a nice wide line here. And it's going to pick up some of the purple from underneath, which is quite nice. That's all right. And here's my bugbear up here. We're going to put some white here. Okay. So, I'm wondering whether I can put in a contrast to this blue and pink. Can I be bold and come in with, say, for example, some orange? The only way to try it out that I know of is to put it beside what you've done. Orange or... No, don't like the yellow. What about... No, if it's going to be anything, it'll have to be orange. Like this, I think. Let's try one heart. I think it's important that we have some contrast, and so therefore I've been brave and gone for the orange. Now I'm just going to put in some of these hearts are going to be orange. And we'll have these circles. And maybe we'll put some of the orange on top of some of the ones that are plain. You could put some orange up here, perhaps. And maybe we could have some lines. What about some white? Dilute it a bit. And put some white around. These circles, perhaps. Make them a bit blurry. And we could have some white hearts, which won't look very obvious because the background is quite light. We could paint some of these ones in white. Could be all white. And then I like the way the paint lifts up from underneath and you get this pale, very pale colour. Okay, so where was my black pen? Okay, so now I think probably what I need to do is to intensify some of the colour in the background. So we'll try not to make this run. Going to give it more texture if we just come in with our brush and do some scumbling around these hearts. So it's basically the same colour that's underneath, just making it a little bit darker. A little bit greenish, whoops, greenish in the middle. Put a little bit too much on, then just dab it off with your tissue. I used to know an artist once who always had a tissue in her hand, in the left hand, always to dry the brush or to pick up what she'd put down if it was too much. Oh, good, now it's raining. This is called scumbling. It's when you use a little bit of paint on a brush, a soft brush, and you just use very little water. Just you get that effect when you're using cold pressed paper or rough paper. It's got a bit of texture. You can see how the grain shows up, which is quite nice. I think I need another heart in there or something. Oh gosh, here goes the rain again. Just making this one lighter by going over some of the black to make it a little bit less dark. And some of these other ones might want a few dots. And you can carry on doing whatever. Lots and lots of possibilities. I quite like these narrow stripes. It's nice to have that colour, but not to have it too intense. Okay, well, I think we're getting towards the end now, and I'm sure this is the point at which I should tell you to go and do something. There won't be a sketch for this, for obvious reasons. You can do this yourself. But anyway, visit the website, dianeantone.com. We've got sketches for many, many paintings on there. If you are a member, just to mention, if you're a member of the channel, either through YouTube or through Patreon, we've been altering the perks that we offer just recently to give you more choice and so on. And so if you go and have a look at what the perks are, there's going to be some free coupons so that you can download digital things that previously you needed to pay for, but now you're going to get a $5 or a $10 coupon, which is useful, I think you'll find. And of course, the sketches are all totally free, and they will remain totally free. What else? I can't think of anything else. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. I think that will do for now. I hope that's going to work out okay. I hope I haven't made a terrible mistake and not filmed it. And I'll leave it there, and I'll see you tomorrow, or if not then, sooner or later. So I'll say bye-bye for now, everybody. Bye-bye.